Hi, Greg Haines here. Welcome along to Talking Away. I hope you enjoy the show, and for more information, visit the social media channels Greg Haines TV.1 week on, we're talking away with the 2023 British Superbike champion Tommy Bridewell. Sunday, the 22nd of October 2023, and this time last week, Tommy Bridewell was waking up hoping that he would become the 2023 Bennett's British Superbike champion. That he did, beating his PBM teammate Glenn Irwin by the narrowest of margins, half a point. Tommy, congratulations. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us. There couldn't be a more popular champion, in my opinion. And part one is a two-part question, if I may. So the first part of it is, when you woke up this time last week, how are you feeling?
Yeah, morning, Greg. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Mixed emotions, really, because just kind of reversing the clock back by, let's say, half of a day. I was lining up for the Saturday sprint race, which strangely I knew was a very fundamental race of that weekend. I went into obviously Brand's 7.5 points behind. And I had a plan. I had a plan before I rolled out on Friday that I needed and wanted to be able to go into the Sunday races with a 10.5 point lead. It doesn't matter how many points you win the championship by, whether it's half a point or 100 points. It's like everything, you win a race by half a second or 10 seconds. It's the same points. It's the same, glory, shall we say. So the hard work for me was done on the Saturday race, but waking up on Sunday, exactly like you said, was very mixed emotions. Not because I've got the opportunity to become British Superbike champion. It was because everything I've done in my life, it was for that moment. For that day, I was either going to be going home very happy or very disappointed. And there's other years I've kind of gone into the last round. It's been me against Taz, and I've always been thereabouts, but almost been the one on the back foot. Where this year I was the one on the front foot. I had it to lose, and my competitors had it to gain. Let's say so. Mixed emotions is probably an understatement.
Yeah, it's easy to forget, actually, that you went into Brands behind in the points. So just to complete that question with part two, how did you feel when you woke up this morning, 1 week on?
Yeah, I felt good because I knew my plan. I think that was fundamental for me. The plan was fundamental, where instead of me waking up thinking, what if this and what if that, and shall I do this and shall I do that? I woke up going, right, if I ride how I have done all year, all I need to do is finish second, and that's it, The stress of it was, obviously Cole was in the mix, but I felt waking up quite calm, weirdly, quite calm, quite relaxed, not stressed, and just ready to ride my bike like it was any other weekend, which doing this podcast with you now makes it sound easy, but it was very minor things annoyed me, and I tried to not have that, very, very minimal minor things. And I know it sounds quite petty, but because of what was at stake for me, and I almost sound bad saying it or feel bad saying it, my lunch, because of race 1 to race 2, we don't have much time. So it's so crucial for me to refuel my energy as fast as I can, ready for race 2, the final race. And my lunch was like 10 minutes late, and I was stressing. And it was little things like that annoyed me, because I wanted the whole day to go like clockwork, not one thing out of place. So yeah, I guess it's easy for me to sit here and say I was calm and relaxed, but little things did almost stress me out.
I just had this horrible feeling watching it, thinking if these two take each other out, you and Glenn Irwin, that is, Kyle Ryde, if he'd won that last race, he would have won the championship, wouldn't he? With the point system as it is now, with the modern day showdown. What was the feeling for you, Tom, going into the last lap when you were sat third? You had to pass Kyle Ryde, because if Glenn won that race with you third, he was the champion. So were you nervous in the sense that you thought, crikey, I might have lost this? Or did you know, I'm all right now, Glenn can win. As long as I pass Kyle, I'm all right.
Exactly that. The only thing in that race that I didn't preempt and I didn't, let's say, have a plan for was Glenn come out of turn 1. So the race was clean. Glenn sat at the front. I sat in second, or I sat in third, wherever it may have been, second at the time. And then Glenn come out of turn 1. He looked behind because he knew, obviously, he needed to put a bike between us. He looked behind
yes.
and had a big moment.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, that's a different aspect to it. I didn't quite see that move coming. But it was, I reacted fine to it. I went to go up around the outside, and he picked up the bike. He was looking on his left. He tried to run me wide, which obviously then subsequently hampered both of us, because then Cole come past both of us. But going on to that last lap, I felt like I've been riding so good all year, and I felt like I've been calm and relaxed, in adjusted to in any situation. And that was no different. I went into the last lap, Glenn got to the front, Cole second, I was third. I was right behind Cole. I didn't know where I was going to pass him, but I knew I was going to pass him because I've been so strong on the brakes. And it's no secret, obviously, it's obvious, the Ducati is a faster bike in a straight line than the Yamaha. So I got the run out of turn 1. I had a slight moment on the rear as I dropped down, which actually potentially helped me, because as it slid very marginally, it almost turned the bike a bit more aggressively to fire me up the inside of Carl. It's funny, really, because he said to me after, he said, I knew you were coming by, but he said, I didn't know where and when. And then I heard this screaming and squeal off your rear tyre. He said, that's where I knew you were coming past. So, yeah, we ran a tiny bit wide, but luckily it wasn't enough for him to be able to come back under me. And I knew what I needed to do, defend on the last lap. If Glenn, tried to pull any sort of other, let's say, tricks, I was riding very reserved the whole weekend, in all honesty. I was riding so reserved that part of me looks back and thinks maybe I should have just got to the front and perhaps checked out. I felt comfortable enough to be able to do that. But you just never know. It's easy to say it, but sat at the front, you're the one in the firing line when you've got it all to lose. So it's more, I felt it was safer for me to be sat behind Glenn instead of getting caught up with any sort of silly business.
Well, Tommy, there's 3 people I want to talk about primarily in this podcast, apart from yourself, of course. One of them is your brother, Ollie, who you tragically lost in an accident at Mallory Park in 2007. And of course, you've been racing for him. You've dedicated the title to him, and we'll come to him in a few minutes' time. This podcast is called Doing It for Ollie, a week on Tommy Bridewell. So we'll come to Ollie in a moment. Paul Bird, of course, your late team boss, who we tragically lost about halfway through this season. But the third person is your teammate, Glenn Irwin. And let's just go back. Let's go back a little bit now to the penultimate round at Donington Park, because there really were some massive fireworks there.
Glenn started getting quite erratic and a bit out of shape. I didn't really get sucked in. I was just braking where I was braking and didn't realise they were braking a bit earlier than me. And unfortunately, there was 3, 2 didn't come out. So I apologise to Glenn.
Look at Tommy Bridewell! Oh! You believe it? They've wiped into that. Tommy Bridewell takes out Glenn Irwin. Unbelievable scenes. And if they'd made up before, they haven't now.
I must say, I think he's bang out of order, come running over in, kicking in the gravel because, I could have been seriously injured, so that is absolutely bang out of order. But yeah, I apologise to him, I apologise to the team.
It was Tommy's incident, but he couldn't get down the inside, he was sort of blocked.
He didn't actually intend on wiping out.
Absolutely not, you never do.
Glenn, quite clearly, very upset about it. When you're this fast, you're this close.
And the passions are running this high.
Well, the voices of my Eurosport colleagues there, Steve Day and James Whittam in commentary. Tommy, there's so many questions I want to ask you here. First of all, how the relationship with Glenn changed over the season. And then as soon as that pressure lifted when you both crossed the line, like that love you have for each other came back. We'll come to that in a minute. First of all, listening back there to Donington, to the commentary and to yourself, how do you feel about that whole episode now?
My heart rate's rising. The facts, to be honest, Greg, I obviously had to start from dead last. There's no way in a million, I've said it before, there's no way in a million years, I'm no superhero. I shouldn't have been able to have come from last up to first within half race distance. I expected to get back towards the front, but I had 20 laps to do it, not 10. When I come in down into that Melbourne loop, the facts of the matter are I was actually going 2 kilometres an hour, which doesn't sound much, but I was going 2 kilometres an hour slower than I had been all race. So it's not even like I went in faster. Unfortunately, Carl went past and I thought, that's fine. Carl's riding great. He's got good pace, no stress. And then Glenn was kind of getting all erratic, in elbows, in legs, sort of kind of going everywhere. And to be honest, for me, I just kind of got sucked in. And it was a split decision of either T-boning Carl, which would have hurt him, and I never would have wanted to have obviously done that. Or there was a very small gap. I felt if luck was on my side, I could have got through the gap. I'd have ran wide, and just recovered. But I just caught the back wheel of Glenn, and that was it, So strange, very strange race. Never ever do you want to take your teammate out, but unfortunately, you've got 2 very fiery characters fighting for one goal, and sometimes that happens, really.
I mean, what makes it particularly strange is that, like you say, he's the worst person you could run into in some ways, but also the best person in some ways. Not that you would ever mean to do that. But in terms of championship points, if you're going to go out, the best person to take down is your teammate, I guess, in that scenario. Listening back to you there saying, it was bang out of order. Glenn ran over to you in the gravel. He then went online and posted quite a long video message, didn't he, after that round saying, I want to stress I did not touch Tommy. It felt like the relationship was terrible at the time. So just how bad was it at the time and how different is it now? As soon as you crossed that line at Brands and then the respect you showed for one another after that race, I thought was absolutely fantastic from both of you. Really emotional. And the respect you have is clear to see. But I guess it must get very, very tense when you're fighting for a championship.
Yeah, exactly, Greg. And to be honest, yeah, Glenn was naughty approaching me in the gravel because no matter what scenario, no matter whether I hit him off, he hit me off, we as racers, if lost, other fellow racers close to us and we know anything can happen. So he was silly, very silly doing that. And he knows that. I was the one in the wrong because I hit him off. But needless to say, there was no excuse for that. So I think I did see a comment about how he thought something about how I was like a footballer rolling around and there was nothing wrong with me. But it is what it is. And then exactly like you say, after Brands, I think it's like everything. There's a lot of antics, shall we say, behind the scenes that the public, the TVs don't see. That's been quite exhausting this year. So the emotions for me to be able to kind of completely blank that out, that a lot of other riders haven't been able to. I've been able to blank it out and actually come out on top is been mega for me, really good. And I have a massive amount of respect for Glenn as a rider. He's a strong rider. He approaches his racing very different to me, which is probably what I find the strangest. I'm not saying we're all the same, but Cole Ride or Ryan Vickers or whoever, I probably prefer the way they approach their racing, because if they can beat me, they can beat me by outriding me, and vice versa. But Glenn probably approaches his racing in quite a different way, to be honest, than any other person I've ever known. But yeah, needless to say, I still respect him as a rider, and I think he's still done a good job for the team this year. Obviously, to get a 1-2 in the championship for what they've been through was brilliant.
And I appreciate I can't go into absolute detail there, Tom, but people will be wondering, when you say other antics going on behind the scenes, are you referring to Glenn specifically, or something else within the team, or something totally different?
I think the dynamic of all of it slightly changed strangely after Alton Park. I think Glenn's sort of comments of how obviously he's had this super upbringing. It's fairly obvious that he's kind of, it upset my mum. It upset my mum massively, where she's kind of, it's obviously, you read between the lines, he's trying to say that I obviously didn't have a very good upbringing in not with no common sense. That was silly of him. And since that point, I lost a lot of respect for him, because I wouldn't have gone on camera and said that. So behind the scenes, like I say, it's probably not as hunky-dory, shall we say, as it perhaps looks on camera, but we're both very professional, that we know we're there to do a job. And that's what we do. We're employed by the team to do a job. So yeah, the main thing is we kind of do that to our best abilities, really.
Obviously, Glenn's not here to defend himself or give his version of events on this podcast, Tommy. This is all about you and your championship. But is it fair to say, at least, that the relationship is now much better than it was at that time at Donington?
No, absolutely. And to be honest, like I say, I never really like to go over the past, because it doesn't get you anywhere. The amount of social media abuse that I got from stuff was weird. I've never ever had it before, so it was quite eye-opening. But no, I've got no issues with Glenn at all. I think I'd be more truthful by saying that, he's another rider on the grid. He probably will say differently, but I'm not going to go out for a drink with him tonight, let's say. We're just fellow racers as such. I respect him for what he is able to do, and that's all I need to do. So yeah, it's like I say, he's a good lad. He's a good lad. And if we were all the same, it would be boring, I suppose.
Yeah, it feels like, if it's fair to say, it's more of a professional respect at the moment than a personal one, maybe. In terms of the team, absolutely. Yeah, in terms of the team, you obviously lost Paul Bird, and it's been a horrible few months, hasn't it, for the whole of the Bird family? And Jordan's done a splendid job, hasn't she, in picking up the gauntlet, as it were. What kind of a man was Paul Bird, and how important is it to you, Tom, that you have finished first and second? The last thing Paul would have known is that his riders were first and second in British Superbike, so after a couple of very difficult years, and you've gone on to finish first and second in possibly the most memorable finale ever, certainly the second most if it wasn't the number one. Half a point. How important is that for you and for Paul Bird's memory?
Yeah, exactly that. Paul was a great, this is being 100% truthful now. Paul has probably had a very colourful past, shall we say. What a great guy. I got on so well with him. The sort of the friendship we built in such a short time was brilliant. So sad, because I felt, we could have gone on to some amazing things together. It was just brilliant time I had with Paul, and I enjoyed every moment of it, because instead of him looking like he was kind of going to give you a bit of an ear chewing, or chew your ear off, kind of a bit of a telling off. He would put his arm around me and say, look, don't worry, we'll bounce back and we'll get it right, so on. So he was very encouraging, very very good like that with me, and very sad the time that I obviously found out that he had passed away, because it just still quite hard to sort of digest, to be honest, for myself. But the main thing for everyone involved was I was able to win him his last British Superbike championship, and I was able to fly the flag with pride for him, really.
Absolutely, really well said here. Well, in many ways, Tom, there's a first 8 and a last 8 here, and the first one is Mallory Park 2007. The last one is Brands Hatch 2013. A lot happened in between, of course, many podiums, your first win at Cadwell Park in 2014. Let's have a listen to this then. Very sad memories, but also some incredible memories at the same time. Once again, we're going to hear from James Whittam and Steve Day, as well as yourself, and also the commentator Fred Clark.
I dedicate everything I do in my life for my brother.
And it is with great personal sadness that I inform you that during Friday's first Superbike free practice session here at Mallory Park, there was a serious incident involving 21-year-old Ollie Bridewell. As a result of injury sustained in that accident, Ollie passed away. Ollie Bridewell was a heady mix of lovable traits that combined to make him hugely popular amongst his peers and his friends. He was, without doubt, a seriously talented and committed superbike racer whose performances improved with each and every outing. And yet, oft-times Ollie could play the Clown Prince with escapades that really became the stuff of legends. But to me, and to many more, I suspect Ollie Bridewell was a breath of fresh air in this all too frequently serious world. Very, very rarely, without that engaging smile on his face, simply to have been in Ollie Bridewell's company was a treasured memento.
The day I lost Ollie, I promised him I will become British champion. This is this day. My life is complete.
All Colorado can do is get in the slipstream and try and squeeze as much out.
There's a moment there for Glenn Owen, and around the outside for Tommy Bridewell. Carl Wright's got the inside line. Tommy Bridewell has to sit up, and Carl Wright now leads.
Unbelievable. We said we were waiting for a mistake, and that was a slight mistake there.
And now Tommy has got to do something about this.
Pass. He has to make a pass for the championship. Has to do.
And he's squirming away, losing grip is Glenn Owen. We start the final lap of the year. The crowd don't know which way to look. Tommy knows though if he can go through, then it's job done. He does go through. Can he get it stopped? Carl Wright on the cutback. No, he doesn't. Tommy Bridewell's doing enough. As it stands now, it's the 8th change of the championship lead. And right now, Tommy would win it.
Yeah, and this is going to be difficult for Kyle to get anywhere near Tommy now at the end of that straight.
The checkered flag is being prepared. The last race, the last corner of 2023. Glenn Owen's going to win, but your new British Superbike champion is Tommy Bridewell by half a point.
What an end to the championship. What a brilliant championship.
He was, without doubt, a seriously talented and committed superbike racer whose performances improved with each and every outing. And yet, oft-times Ollie could play the Clown Prince with escapades that really became the stuff of legends.
I promised him I will become British champion.
A seriously talented and committed superbike racer.
Well, Tommy, there's so many emotions, aren't there, listening to that? How do you feel right now?
Yeah, like I say, it makes your hair stand up on your neck, sort of thing. But it's weird because we could talk about Ollie until sort of I'm blue in the face, because I I love talking about him is my brother, and to keep the memory, alive forever sort of thing. But it was a tough day, a very tough day in 2007. A day that, I wouldn't wish on me worst enemy sort of thing. And a day where obviously I was 3 odd years younger than Ollie. It's so hard to sort of digest that in as a young lad, to kind of think, bloody hell, how do you to kind of get around that? Just in general life, but to obviously lose your brother to a sport that you dedicate everything to is tough. But I made him a promise, and I was able to deliver that promise, which, like I say, the emotions for me were so high to be able to do that, because it's fine, it's okay promising stuff, but sometimes it is out of your hands. Sometimes it doesn't go to plan or so on. So for me to be able to make that promise and to stand by it, I would have always gave and will always give 110%. But to be able to cross the line as being crowned British Superbike champion, it was very overwhelming for me. But I think the thing for me that's been more overwhelming is I come over the line, I take the glory, I'm the, let's say, the face and the voice behind it all. But the support, the messages from everyone has been unbelievable, to the point where it's been almost hard to believe. Like but I think it's because everyone knows why I do it. And that's why I find the support so overwhelming, because they're happy because I've been able to honour my promise, honour, Ollie's name. And like I put on my social medias, I don't ever look at it almost as Tommy Bridewell, British Superbike champion. Yes, that's what's written on paper, but it's me and Ollie, British Superbike champions. So an amazing achievement for me to be able to kind of get that, take the trophy up to his grave, and just see it up there with him was, fantastic.
Yeah, and for those of you who haven't seen that, have a look at Tommy's social media channels. It was a really, really poignant picture. It's hard to talk about the future now, but now that you've done that, now that you have won that title for Ollie, what's going to motivate you going forward? Is it a bit like Toprak Razgatlioglu in World Superbikes? He won his title in 2021 for his late father, Arif, and he's always said, I want my second title now to be for myself. So is it going to be a little bit like that for you, assuming you're going to stay in BSB? Is the first one for Ollie and the second one for yourself?
I think, to be honest, Greg, I think even the first ones for all of us, it's everyone that around you kind of, let's say, not that has to sacrifice as well, but understands the emotions with all of it involved. So there is a big weight lifted off my shoulders. I actually feel more relaxed, in more not excited, but if I am to stay in British Superbikes next year, which honestly looks more likely, I wanted to go World Superbikes. That's where I would have liked to have gone. But it just seems that the grid for that at the minute is difficult. So if I'm in British Superbikes next year, I'm coming back to just defend my title. And I'm looking forward to being able to do that. In truth, I'm going to run the number 1 plate on the bike. So yeah, I think for me it's exactly like you say with Toprak. He's won his first one for his dad, and he wants to win his second for himself. But I think honestly, deep down, you always race in memory or for a reason. And even if Toprak or I win another one, it's still really, you still dedicate it to your brother or your father or whoever. And you, like I say, you're just the kind of face behind the camera, I suppose.
And Tommy, whatever happens in the future now, whether it's World Superbikes in 2024 or beyond, and whatever happens, as you say, it sounds like you're going to stay in British Superbikes for 2024, whether it's with the same team or you go back to where you were before. There's rumours of Honda. There's all sorts of rumours. I guess you're having offers from pretty much everyone in the paddock at the moment. But whatever happens, it feels like you're going to be more relaxed than ever. You know you've got the title. Are we still yet to see the best ever Tommy Bridewell?
Yeah, exactly that. And it's I've chatted to a few ex-World Superbike champions and so on, so they know what they're on about. And some, like I said, going back, the messages I've had from these guys is so grateful, because it clarifies that I've done a good job. And it's exactly like they were saying that, you know, I'll find it, let's say, not easier, but I'll you know, be more relaxed and ride better again. Because to be honest, no matter what, you ride a bit tense. So for me, yeah, depending on what I do next year, honestly, I don't know. There's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of very, very big question marks, whether I'll be, you know, whether I'll stay with PBM, or Honda, or you know, other avenues as well. For me, I'm kind of a free agent, shall we say? And wherever I end up going, like I say, I'll be running that number 1 plate on the bike, and I want to add to it. So I believe the more relaxed Tommy Bridewell, the faster he is. So for me to be able to kind of feel a bit more relaxed is exciting. I don't say weirdly, I feel more motivated and excited to get back training already. It's just the fact that we're only a week down the line, and for me to think, right, I'm going to start training already for 2024, it's too early, because I just burn myself out. So me and my wife are going to go away to Florida next week for a bit of a break for a week and a half, and then as soon as I get back from that, I'll be back training, and potentially look to do some tests out in Spain. And I do need to think about kind of making a decision of what I'm actually going to be doing in the future. So, yeah, I've been a bit too relaxed, shall we say, over this past week. I kind of should probably be thinking of my future, but I've also wanted to kind of almost switch off and just enjoy the moment of becoming British champion. Like, say, a week ago today, it has sunk in now, which is brilliant. And I'm looking forward to. I'm looking at the trophy as we speak, and I'm looking forward to getting his brother, hopefully at the end of the next year.
Oh, what a lovely position to be in, though, to be able to choose where you go, because that hasn't always been the case, as you know full well, over the years. And have a great time in Florida with your wife, Stacey. One more thing, we all have an expiry date. We never know how long we're going to have, Tommy. But right now, 1 week on, end of October 2023, a week on from winning the BSB title, how would you like Tommy Bridewell to be remembered when you're not here in the future?
Exactly the same as my brother. Ollie will always be probably more liked, because he was such a happy, smiling character. I just want people to know that everything I've done in life, in racing, is for him. And I also believe that, unfortunately, nowadays, the social media, the PlayStations, the iPads, and all that for kids is too accessible. When I was a kid, I didn't have a PlayStation, I didn't have a phone, I didn't have an iPad, I didn't have anything. All I used to do is come in from school, bang, out playing football, out on a little motorbike around the garden, or whatever it is. Just want, that to always be remembered, that that's the normal, way of life. You don't need to be obsessed with bloody all this sort of modern stuff. And I know perhaps I'm the old fart stuck in the past, but it hasn't served me too bad. And if you put your mind to it, you will 100% can succeed, because even though I have succeeded what I wanted to, there's been a lot of rocky roads to get to that point of kind of big question marks whether I would have. But like I've said, I never ever lost the faith and never disbelieved that, if I kept working, I would get there in the end.
Well said. And Tommy, for what it's worth, everything you've just mentioned about technology, I could not agree more. Thank you very much. We've been chatting there for nearly 35 minutes. It's a privilege to talk with you, Tommy, and I'm so pleased to say that you are the 2023 British Superbike champion. Congratulations.
Thank you ever so much for having me, Greg.
Well, there you go then. Tommy Bridewell, the 2023 Bennett's British Superbike champion.